Sitting awkwardly in the college entrance ceremony, Kumasaka Takeru stood out from the crowd. He was tall, well built, dark skinned, and had light hair. He wore a grumpy face while the others around him commented on his appearance, including the odd suit. Internally, the softy that was Kumasaka was almost crying with how angry and embarrassed he felt. He stood out in so many ways and he hated it, just wanting to be normal, or at least fit in. Though his soft inside was broken up over this, externally, he looked like he was about to end someone. He blamed this whole disaster on the suit he wore because of his brother's recommendations. Unfortunately for the softy Kumasaka, his older brothers are delinquents, and he isn't, and their fashion sense gave everyone the wrong impression about him. Devastated, Kumasaka believes that he'll never make any friends, falling into a state of despair. While he suffered, the girl next to him took notice of the giant sitting next to her. Looking at Kumasaka all enamored, Tozawa Kiyoka thought about how he was built different to normal delinquents and seemed to be probably a total playboy, which she liked, blushing to the thought of it. After a moment, she notices that Kumasaka was crying, shocking her to the core. She couldn't believe that she was seeing a delinquent cry. Feeling bad for him, she tells him that he can use her handkerchief, if he really needs it. Looking at it, he notices how cute it was, with a bunny motif on it. She tells him it's for him, apologizing that it's so cute while he has the appearance of a gruff man. Tozawa told Kumasaka that life might be scary sometimes, but they should do their best to make their new chapter in life the best it can be. Heart racing, he feels so thankful to her, and perhaps even more. Stumbling on his words, he manages to thank her and continue on with his college life. Fast forwarding 3 years, Kumasaka was looking at his bunny handkerchief and dreaming about meeting the nice girl with short hair that helped him that day. Little did he know, she had changed, but had not taken her eyes off of him, admiring his body from a distance. The towering and daunting figure of Kumasaka has always been more akin to that of a hamster, soft and gentle. Unfortunately, his body didn't get the memo. Meanwhile, Tozawa, with her delicate frame and inviting appearance, was closer to that of a panther, ready to strike her prey and devour them. In his search for a friend, Kumasaka approached Tozawa, not realizing who she is. He asks if the two could hang out, to get to know her since they are classmates. Internally, he comments that he's seen Tozawa often alone, just like him, and thinks that this might be a chance to solve the issues for both of them. 2 birds, 1 stone. Turning to face Kumasaka, she is taken aback since he's never approached her since their first meeting. She questions Kumasaka if it will be just the 2 of them, alone, seeming to look concerned. However, in her mind, she thought that Kumasaka was a playboy, and if the 2 of them are alone, it means that they are going to spend the night together, exciting her. While Tozawa thinks about spending the night together with Kumasaka, he explains to her that since he asked her to hang out, he will pay for all the costs. As Tozawa thanked him, Kumasaka took out his wallet and a small, square object fell out. Both of them looked at it before Kumasaka quickly picked it back up. Tozawa, only seeing the object for a moment, let her mind go wild. The shape, the size, it must be protection. Her imagination took her away, leaving her blushing from her daydreams. Kumasaka, clutching on the dropped object, warns himself about being so careless. He dropped his grandma's handmade Lucky Charm, which, if he lost, would be disastrous for him. After walking a while, Kumasaka asks Tozawa if she's tired and needs to rest. He barely gets the words out before she jumps up and down, saying yes please. He comments that she answered so quick, so she clearly must be hungry. As he spoke, Tozawa was doing quick maths on prices for a room in a love hotel. In all her excitement and jumping around, Tozawa slips on her heel and begins to fall over. Moving swiftly, Kumasaka manages to wrap his arms around her, saving her from injury. In the suddenness of the action, he hadn't realized that he had grabbed Tozawa's chest. Panicking, Kumasaka asked a flurry of questions. Are you okay? Are you hurt? The genuineness of his words was not in question, as his concern was written all over his face. Blushing from the intimate moment, Tozawa thanks Kumasaka for his efforts, before adding that his hand is squeezing her. Only now realizing Kumasaka was so shocked that he couldn't form words in that instant. Finally acting, Kumasaka retracts his arm and apologized, explaining that he hadn't noticed until he stopped. His right arm, it was stuck. The pair began to struggle, the giant softy attempting to free his hand, while the little minx attempted with all her might to keep his hand squeezing her. With his hand trembling in pain, Kumasaka thinks that he almost got his hand ripped off by the panther that is Tozawa. She spat in frustration as her pace slipped the trap. Meanwhile, Kumasaka thought that she did it out of anger since he grabbed her, and he couldn't blame her for that. Turning on the charm, Tozawa claims that she thinks she twisted her ankle in the fall, and would Kumasaka be a gentleman and give her a piggyback ride so they can continue on. Being a real sweetheart and falling for Tozawa's puppy eyes, Kumasaka instantly offered his back to her, saying that they should find somewhere to sit and ice it ASAP. Climbing on, she swung around and clung to his chest like a lover rather than a damsel in distress. Trying to laugh it off, Kumasaka says that he can't walk when she's in this position. Internally, his mind was a mess. What kind of piggyback was this? She smells good, no, focus. Worried about falling to the temptations of the flesh, he asked his granny what should he do. Deciding to just ask her to back off, he begins to say so, but Tozawa has other ideas. She gently blows on his ear in an attempt to entice him into doing something, her eyes darkened, hungry for touch. Kumasaka, blushing slightly but serious, warns Tozawa. She should be careful teasing a guy like she is, or something bad might happen. He continues, saying that Tozawa is cute and if she did this to someone else, they might get the wrong idea and do something ungentlemanly. Tozawa has a puzzled look on her face, wondering if she was that hard to understand. She's been throwing out green lights, green flags. Does she need to throw out green undies at him to get him to understand? What she had imagined happening was Kumasaka understanding her wants, spoiling her rotten, and then going at it all night to her pleasure. After an adjustment to a bridal carry, Tozawa stared up at Kumasaka in admiration as he thinks about if he has to carry her the whole way there like this. Attempting to calm himself, he thinks over and over that he's just helping. His thoughts, though, are interrupted by Tozawa. Tozawa was squished against Kumasaka's pec, like a child to their teddy bear. She comments on how his chest is impressive, as she was blissfully pressed against them. Only realizing now, he released her and gently placed her down. Tozawa began to alter the conversation, saying that if he asked her to lick his pecs, she would, but not here, because it's in public. Kumasaka, slightly disappointed, asks Tozawa what even is he to her, adding that he's not making her lick anything. Standing behind Kumasaka, Tozawa cops the feel on his chest, commenting on how it's impressive, truly impressive. Kumasaka didn't resist, just blushed and thought about how weird it was. Continuing to be the gentleman, Kumasaka goes to get medicine for Tozawa's ankle, telling her that he'll be back soon. Defeated, Tozawa can only thank him. Realizing she needs to improve her attempts, she begins searching for why he isn't noticing her cues. When it comes to nighttime aerobics, she's extremely diligent. Lost in her research, Tozawa didn't hear the stranger calling out to her. Sitting beside her and draping his arm over her shoulder, the real playboy asks if she's alone and would she like to play with him. With her face darkening, Tozawa threatens the scummy man, slapping away his hand and saying that if he touches her again, she'll call the cops. He says that she's quite harsh. Playfully confused, he asks Tozawa that she does want to fool around with guys, right? Tozawa, offended, questions what he means. Pointing to her phone, he says that her entire search history is filled with adult activities questions. Embarrassed about being caught, Tozawa attempts to shoo away the creep, telling him to mind his own business. Unfortunately, the man doesn't take no for an answer, and grabs her wrist tightly, telling her not to joke around. With a twisted, sick grin, the man remarks that Tozawa shouldn't be so picky if she just wants to hook up with someone. Dread began to fill Tozawa as she realized that she was now in way over her head and she can't see a way out. A perverse look overtook the man's face as he gripped tighter on Tozawa's wrist, loudly and rapidly saying that they should just go now. He knows she's good to go. They should be going to a love hotel already. Tozawa cries out in pain as the man practically crushes her wrist, telling him to stop. She tells him that she's already made up her mind. She's decided who she will spend the night with, and it's not him. The stranger doesn't have a chance to reply, as the dread apparition of Kumasaka loomed behind Tozawa and reached out, starting to crush the stranger's face. Tozawa asked Kumasaka to allow her to touch his leg. Blushing, he allowed her, thinking that it'd be no issue and it's not weird, until Tozawa crouched down, pressing her chest against his leg and commenting on how it's as thick as her waist in a sensual tone. Believing her plan to tempt Kumasaka into pouncing on her is working, Tozawa lets out a smug smile and laugh, before seeing Kumasaka punch himself in the face to keep control of himself, foiling Tozawa's temptress plans. Fury flowing through him, Kumasaka yells at the stranger, asking what the hell was he doing. He demanded an apology from him for Tozawa. The stranger's muffled apology squeaked out, saying that he didn't know Tozawa had a boyfriend. Kumasaka, still furious, yells that it doesn't matter if she was single or had a partner. What he did was wrong. Tozawa, in her favorite position, notices the passers-by muttering and calling the police, alarming her. Kumasaka asks her for her opinion on what to do with the stranger. Worried for Kumasaka, she tells him that she's fine, the stranger has been neutered, and they should leave. Kumasaka, still angry, begins to crack the stranger's skull, saying that he should just do a bit more. Tozawa yells at him, saying to stop, they should just go. Now. After bolting away from the scene of the incident, Kumasaka flopped down on a bench, panting heavily. Tozawa apologized for making him carry her while they were running at full speed. She looked at him with both worry and concern. Grounding himself, Kumasaka turned to Tozawa, asking about her hand. Tozawa, now noticing it, mentions that it's a bit red now, but it doesn't hurt anymore. Kumasaka, genuinely upset, says that even though he was right there, he let her get hurt. From the bottom of his heart, he apologizes. Tozawa, stunned, asks why is he the one apologizing. Tozawa admits that it's kinda her fault since she was being too careless. Kumasaka immediately says that what she's saying isn't true. What Tozawa couldn't admit was that she was too focused on finding ways to hook up with Kumasaka to notice the creep. Embracing Kumasaka, Tozawa buries her face in his chest. Kumasaka got flustered, blushing hard as Tozawa began to speak. She confesses that she was scared earlier, but is thankful that Kumasaka saved her. Kumasaka, standing there feeling awkward, begins to speak, saying to Tozawa that they should probably go. But his comment goes unanswered, as Tozawa wasn't paying attention to him and was locked in to her embrace. Calling out worried, Kumasaka says Tozawa's name, mentioning that it's getting hard to breathe with her locking into him so hard. As she begins to crush him, she blushed hard and formed hard eyes. She promised herself internally that she would absolutely get Kumasaka to spend the night with her. Students saw Kumasaka showing Tozawa something on his phone, stunning her. They believed that it was a threat or blackmail against Tozawa and worried for her safety. But it was not as they thought, as Kumasaka was sent a baby picture of himself from his grandma and he showed it to Tozawa. Tozawa was trying to contain herself, but at the end she couldn't help it and let out a "so cute." Following days, Tozawa seeked out Kumasaka and would sit with them and spend time with them, first asking if she can join him for a lecture, bubbling with happiness. Later, she joined him in the cafeteria, having saved seats for the pair so they could eat together. She approached him at the end of the day, asking if they could walk home together and stop by a cafe, but she stopped when she saw Kumasaka crying, questioning why. Internally, Kumasaka was just so happy that he finally had a university friend. On the bus to uni, Kumasaka asked Tozawa if she's free after 5th period. Tozawa, at light speed, answers that she was. Kumasaka notes that she replies very quickly. Leaning into her, Kumasaka whispers that he wants Tozawa to stop by his place for a while, and it won't take long. Tozawa goes flush red as she thinks that her dream has come true, and they'll finally have their intimate night together. Standing in Kumasaka's apartment, Tozawa was completely baffled as to why she was holding veggies and not Kumasaka. He thanks her for taking some of the harvest off his hand, as his granny had sent him too much, like she does every year. With a disappointed pout, Tozawa says that she'll enjoy these and thanks him for it. Tozawa prepared herself to go to Kumasaka's place since he had invited her. She cleaned and freshened herself up while thinking all day that her and Kumasaka were gonna get it on. To her heart-wrenching disappointment, it was just veggies. The next day, Tozawa approached Kumasaka with a bento box made with the veggies that he had gifted her. He tells her that that's not why he gave them to her, but she counters saying that she made it for him because she wanted to. She comments on the ingredients, mentioning a variety of foods, most of which are fancy. As she rattled off the names, she had a slight blush and darkened eyes, hinting to the scheme that she had brewing. Kumasaka notes that the components of the bento sound so luxurious. Digging in, Kumasaka finds the bento scrumptious, saying that Tozawa is awesome for making something so delicious. Still mischievous, with her blush and darkened eyes, she softly adds that there's also some blood from a soft-shell turtle, which is believed to be an aphrodisiac. Power erupting from him, Kumasaka's veins pop up while his shirt shreds from his body. Looking like a feral ogre, Kumasaka huffs and puffs in a fervor of lust. Tozawa mentally comments that the bento box was effective, maybe too effective. Seeing her chance, she clings to Kumasaka's bulging arm, seductively calling his name as she rubs against it, her dark, temptress eyes in full bloom. To her surprise, Kumasaka holds onto her, saying her name. He leans in close, telling her that he can't hold on any longer, breathing into her ear. Tozawa, blushing, now acts more like a maiden rather than a panther. Racing for a kiss, she was still acting like a maiden with her blush and shut eyes. She thinks that it's finally gonna happen, but is stunned when she hears a thump. Opening her eyes, she manages to see Kumasaka as he drops to the floor. Looking down, Tozawa sees Kumasaka passed out on the floor. She begins to call his name, worried. Seeing him still unresponsive, she then screams his name, but he's still out cold. What she didn't know was that eating all those stamina-enhancing substances while his blood flowed to one part of the body, it can cause a loss of consciousness. After the stimulant overload bento Tozawa had made, she gave Kumasaka a lap pillow along with an overhead pillow. She had draped her jacket over him as he slept peacefully, dreaming of being in Pillow World. On another day, Tozawa mentioned to Kumasaka that she just learned about X-vids. Kumasaka was surprised that girls watch videos like that. Deciding to add his input, he explained that it's called crossvids, not X. He was under the impression that he knew the correct name. Deciding to tease him, Tozawa smirks and reveals her temptress eyes, saying that Kumasaka knows a lot about X-vids. Covering his face, Kumasaka was incredibly embarrassed, as Tozawa apologized, saying that she was only teasing and she wanted to see his face. But of course, we all know that Kumasaka was wrong about it being called cross-vids. Tozawa approached Kumasaka, telling him that when she's having a good time, she likes to take pictures and post them online. Kumasaka asks if she wants to do it with him, which she tells him she does. Tozawa tells him how to pose as they get ready for the picture, moving and positioning him like a doll. Once in position, she takes the picture. Looking at the photo, Tozawa comments on how great it came out. So good, in fact, that she posts it right away. Kumasaka tries to stop her, seeing how NTR the picture looks, but he's unable to do it on time. Another day, Kumasaka stops Tozawa, telling her not to move. He leaned in, hands outstretched. Looking at Kumasaka with hard eyes, she thinks that now they are finally going to do it. Until Kumasaka tells her that she has a bug in her hair, terrifying her. Tozawa then begins to flail and cry like a child, trying to flee from the fly on her head, as Kumasaka tells her not to move anymore. He'll get rid of it for her. Kumasaka apologizes as he grabs Tozawa's face before plucking off the fly and flicking it away. While still squeezed in Kumasaka's hand, Tozawa, red from crying and looking as innocent as could be, asks if it's gone, if it's all okay now. Seeing her in this position, little Kumasaka rises to the occasion, to Kumasaka's horror. Not wanting her to see, Kumasaka tells her that there's another bug, but he'll get it, she just needs to close her eyes. Starting to cry again, Tozawa begs him to get rid of this bug too. Turning in surprise, Kumasaka asks Tozawa if she really asked him to get drinks. She happily tells him that yep, she did. She continues, saying that it would be nice to bond over drinks. Her temptress inner monologue, however, was saying that she hoped that he'd become a beast when he drank and would ravage her. The pair drank pints, celebrating their friendship. After many pints and 3 hours, Kumasaka was dragging Tozawa home. Tozawa drunkenly spilled her thoughts, saying how tasty his body looked. Kumasaka, flustered and frustrated, tells her that she's too drunk. Tozawa says that they should go party at a hotel now, but Kumasaka shot down the idea immediately. Waking up with bunnies in her heart, Tozawa questioned if she and Kumasaka had done the deed. She was surprised to see that she was still dressed and she wasn't at home or at a hotel. Head pounding, Tozawa realized that she was very hungover. She went to look for the bathroom and, upon opening the bathroom door, she found Kumasaka asleep with a blanket wrapped around him on the floor. Freaking out, Tozawa apologized for hugging the bed, but said he should have at least slept in the room with her. Kumasaka stretched, hopping and cracking with each movement as he groaned. Tozawa commented that it was all so very loud. Sleepy-eyed, Kumasaka asks Tozawa how could she sleep peacefully with a guy in the same room as her. Taken aback, Tozawa yells that she kinda wished that she would be kept up all night long instead of sleeping well. Kumasaka was completely confused as the true meaning of Tozawa's comment flew right over his head. Kumasaka laughed as he commented that when he checked up on her after having a shower, he noticed that Tozawa was able to sleep so peacefully and he was glad for it. With terrifying eyes, Tozawa glared at him, menacingly saying that her moment to peep on Kumasaka bathing was gone. Kumasaka, seeing this terrifying sight, shrieked at the intimidating aura. It was 2 a.m. when he took the steamy shower, and he saw how Tozawa was sleeping soundly. He smiled at the adorable sight before going to sleep himself in the other room. Tozawa thanked Kumasaka for letting her stay at his place. He told her that it was no problem since he was not going to let her go home that drunk. It would have been dangerous. Awkwardly blushing, Tozawa asks if she can use his shower to freshen up before leaving his place. Flustered, Kumasaka tells her that of course she can use his shower. Tozawa both apologized and thanked him, while Kumasaka tries his best not to think of naked Tozawa. Sitting on the bed, he repeats to himself over and over, "Don't imagine it, don't imagine it, don't imagine it." While showering, Tozawa notices that Kumasaka actually uses some really good shampoo, which surprises her. Beginning to scheme in her temptress mode, her eyes darken to the thought of Kumasaka's reaction if she left the bathroom in only a towel. Her thoughts are interrupted by a sudden noise, however. Turning around, Tozawa spots her worst enemy, a cockroach, sitting right there on the wall. Grumbling to himself, Kumasaka gives up as he now is more aware of the curves of Tozawa than ever before. Thinking quick, he decides to go on the internet to distract from his own thoughts. As he goes to take his phone out, a scream from the bathroom catches his attention. Rushing to the bathroom and knocking on the door, Kumasaka calls out to Tozawa, asking what's wrong. But he was tackled by a new Tozawa fleeing in panic from the cockroach, receiving a pair of missiles to the face. Doing a Halloween photo shoot, Kumasaka was dressed as a cop while Tozawa was a horny jail prisoner. When it was finished, Kumasaka commented that he was a little embarrassed being so close to her, saying that he could scoot away just a little bit. Using her incredible horny strength, Tozawa pulled Kumasaka towards her for a kiss, while he resisted with all his might. Clinging to Kumasaka's face, Tozawa stuttered in fear that there was a cockroach, terrifying her. Kumasaka was being smothered by Tozawa's pillows, attempting to call her name since he couldn't breathe. Eventually managing to pull Tozawa the facehugger off him, Kumasaka takes a big gulp of air before yelling at her to calm down while his nose bled and his face was vibrant red. Putting his jumper on her, Kumasaka took a guard stance and told Tozawa to stay back. He'll deal with this. Tozawa, crying and sniffling, defeatedly said okay as Kumasaka looked for the cockroach. Moving into the bathroom, he finds the cockroach scurrying away and calls out that he found it. Unfortunately, that brings terror back to Tozawa. Gripping a newspaper tightly, he takes an ogre club swing at the cockroach, eviscerating it. Tozawa timidly thanked Kumasaka for his effort while he bagged up what remained of the cockroach. He apologizes for not realizing he had a bug and for scaring her like that. Noticing that she's drenched, Kumasaka tells Tozawa to shower again since she must be freezing. Tozawa says nothing, fidgeting awkwardly and looking down submissively. Kumasaka questions the look, with Tozawa saying that she's scared to shower now and needs him nearby. Sitting outside the shower, Tozawa calls out, asking if Kumasaka is still near. Blushing and feeling awkward, he loudly replies that he is. Heading home, Tozawa thanks Kumasaka for everything he did, which he brushes off, saying it was no problem. He'll see her at uni. Once the door closed, Kumasaka could finally drop the calm facade. Remembering Tozawa launching herself at him, he goes bright red as the memory is vivid and will not leave his mind. Throwing himself onto the bed, embarrassment filled the innocent grandma's boy that is Kumasaka, as he howled with a mix of emotions. The next day at uni, gossip was brewing. Two students whispered to each other about Kumasaka and Tozawa. They mentioned that apparently Kumasaka has made moves on Tozawa, who is the college's cool beauty that is supposedly unattainable. The first boy continues, saying that someone witnessed Tozawa leaving Kumasaka's place after the last day off, at dawn. Images of Kumasaka ravishing Tozawa filled both of their minds, as the second boy questions if it was even real. Commenting on how close they are, the pair of students say something must be up. Meanwhile, Tozawa was questioning Kumasaka as he seemed distant after the cockroach incident. Stunned and flushed red, Kumasaka apologized, adding that he didn't notice, as his heart raced from the memories of that night. Walking off their campus, Kumasaka asked Tozawa if she wants to take a break with him since the next period is free, with Tozawa quickly yelling that she wants a break. But their conversation is interrupted with a kid's cry, alerting both of them to trouble. Tozawa says it might be cliche, but the two of them should go help this random child and their balloon. Getting closer, Kumasaka mentions that despite his height, he can't reach it. However, Tozawa has an idea. Combining their strength and making a reference I don't understand, Tozawa says that she'll give 100% and get the balloon with all her might. Managing to reach the balloon, Tozawa discovers that the string is tangled on the tree limb and begins to undo it. While Tozawa struggled with the balloon, Kumasaka was losing a fight against Tozawa that she didn't even know she was fighting. Tozawa tells Kumasaka that she only needs a little bit more to free the balloon, but Kumasaka begins to lower her. Tozawa was confused by why he started bringing her down. Tozawa, not looking down, asked Kumasaka what's wrong with them. Kumasaka, battling his body and Kumasaka Jr., lies to Tozawa saying that his back is a bit sore. Kumasaka found Tozawa watching something on her mobile and was pleasantly surprised by how much fun she seemed to be having watching it. So much so that she hadn't noticed him arrive. Deciding he wanted to tease her, he resolved himself to sneak up behind her and spook her, hoping for a bit of banter between friends. As Kumasaka looked over Tozawa's shoulder to see what she was watching, he saw Tozawa happily laughing at a grisly horror movie. Terrified, Kumasaka screamed in a high-pitched voice and clung to Tozawa for dear life. Being her lewd self, Tozawa assumes Kumasaka is making a move on her and blushes, calling him bold for coming behind her like that. Feeling Kumasaka tremble, Tozawa slowly realized that Kumasaka was actually feeling terrified and was clinging to her for comfort, discovering that he was afraid of horror movies. Kumasaka apologized to Tozawa, saying that he deserved it since he was peeking at her. Tozawa, patting his head, apologized for not being considerate of Kumasaka, stunned that he was legitimately frightened by the movie. Beginning to quiver and pant, she tells him that she'll be more careful. Mentally, she notes how he is adorable with this weak spot and wants to tease him even more with this response, unlocking a new kink within her. As Tozawa and Kumasaka were hanging out, Tozawa spotted a poster for a dog drawing event that was happening and was curious about it. Kumasaka mentions how the dog on the poster looks cute and maybe he should go. Tozawa asks Kumasaka if he draws, which Kumasaka says he does sometimes. Tozawa, excited, exclaims that she wants to see his art. Tozawa looked at his art and realized something. It's not good. But Kumasaka didn't seem to know as he smugly rubbed his nose and went, heh. Tozawa found him even more adorable because of all this, and awed inside. She asked him for a hug, which caused Kumasaka to ask why in a shocked manner. Kumasaka's neighbor thought about how Kumasaka and Tozawa looked on campus and believed Kumasaka was tainting Tozawa and was contemplating on how he should react when he saw them again. However, his thoughts were completely wrong about the pair. Kumasaka greeted Tozawa good morning before he noticed that Tozawa was wearing glasses. He questioned why she was wearing them this morning. Adjusting her glasses and blushing, she explains that she ran out of contact lenses, thus needing to wear her glasses. Kumasaka told her that her glasses were cute and really suited her. Kumasaka, a bit flustered, said that seeing her this way was kinda throwing him off. Tozawa laughed and asked if he wanted to try it too. Kumasaka asked what should he try, with Tozawa explaining that he could do a makeover and she'll pick out an outfit for him. Dressed up in a Miami Vice style outfit, Kumasaka asks how he looks. Tozawa bluntly told him that he looked shady, which stung Kumasaka, but he couldn't argue with it. Still, he liked how stylish it was and he began to think of how nice it was to wear something that a friend picked out for him. While lost in thought, Tozawa interrupted him. Tozawa asked Kumasaka if he can pick out something for her too, surprising Kumasaka. Kumasaka tries to politely reject the thought, saying that he can't pick girls' clothes, but Tozawa pushed, saying that she doesn't mind if she looks weird. Pushing even harder, she uses her ultimate technique, puppy dog eyes. While doing so, she begs, saying, "Please, pretty please," with Kumasaka giving in to the adorableness. Kumasaka, now resolved, said that she asked for it, so don't blame him if things go wrong. In her flashy new outfit, Tozawa commented that she looked like a Y2K gyaru. Kumasaka explained that the only girls he saw growing up was his brother's girlfriends. Tozawa yelled out in surprise that all his brother's girlfriends were gyaru? Tozawa said she actually liked the outfit and she'll wear it the next day. Kumasaka, however, didn't listen as he notices that the outfit really shows off Tozawa's personality. The next day on campus, everyone stared at Kumasaka and Tozawa as they looked like an early 2000s celebrity couple from magazines. Tozawa went looking for Kumasaka, which upon entering the room, she asked if he wanted to have lunch with her but found an odd situation. Tozawa found another woman clinging to Kumasaka, saying that she thought he was scary but it turned out he was a sweet guy, while she stroked his chest. Kumasaka stuttered, saying, "Tozawa, it's not what it looks like." In a murderous tone, Tozawa asked what was going on, with Kumasaka terrified as Tozawa showed an expression he's never seen before. Tozawa, in Panther mode, asks what the two of them were talking about. The girl responds that she's the manager of the rugby club and she's trying to scout Kumasaka. The manager began to feel up Kumasaka again, saying how he had a nice body. She adds that she was surprised about how cute he is despite his appearance. Kumasaka removed the manager's hand and told her that he wanted her to stop touching him so much. The manager backed away, apologizing, saying that she didn't mean to touch him so much, while Kumasaka looked at her irritated. Kumasaka told the manager that he's not interested in club activities, so he declines her offer. Tozawa was shocked. She believed that Kumasaka must actually hate being touched, and she's guilty of touching him at least 100 times. Feeling awkward, Kumasaka told Tozawa that he's refused the manager, so they can go now. Tozawa agreed awkwardly. As Kumasaka began to explain what he wanted to do today, he reached out to pat Tozawa's shoulder, but she dodged the touch and moved away slightly. Kumasaka asked Tozawa why she was so far away from him, but she told him that she wasn't in a tiny voice, which Kumasaka immediately commented on. Kumasaka thought that perhaps Tozawa was angry with him over what happened earlier with the rugby club manager. Kumasaka, looking desperate, called out to Tozawa, apologizing while stepping towards her. Tozawa asked why he was apologizing while stepping away from him. Almost crying, Kumasaka says that Tozawa has been keeping her distance from him, clearly upsetting him. Blushing, she lies, saying that she's not keeping away from him. Kumasaka then begs her to move closer, but Tozawa says that she can't. Letting out a roar and becoming more bear-like, Kumasaka demands to know why she won't stay close. Tozawa, changing from a panther to a mouse, squeaks and flees from him. Kumasaka, panting heavily, comments on how fast Tozawa is, even in heels, as she nimbly weaves through the crowds of people in the street. As she continues to dodge Kumasaka, Tozawa trips in her heels, beginning to fall face first due to her momentum. Just before she hits the ground, Kumasaka caught her, grabbing her under the arms. He told her, gasping between breaths, that he got her, shocking Tozawa. Kumasaka brought Tozawa to a bench so they could talk, but it looked more akin to a bear carrying a rabbit. Kumasaka seemed determined while Tozawa whimpered in defeat. Kumasaka asked if she's not mad, then why is she dodging him so avidly? Tozawa hesitated but begins to explain. She told him that she saw how Kumasaka hated the rugby manager touching all over him and realized she'd been doing it constantly without knowing his feelings about it. Kumasaka explains that it was because he didn't know her well, but he does know Tozawa. He added that if he didn't like it, he'd tell her like a normal person. Teary-eyed, Tozawa asks if he's being honest, with Kumasaka adding that he is, and he'd allow her to even... but he was cut off. Tozawa exclaims that he'd let her touch him all she wanted, while she twinkled with excitement. Kumasaka starts to agree before realizing what Tozawa had said, confusing him. Tozawa began to put her hands on him, causing Kumasaka to blush. He tried to say that she's not wrong, but he meant something else. However, Tozawa was already in her happy little world. She began to rub his chest faster and faster, while Kumasaka questioned why it ended up this way, before accidentally letting out a moan. Happily rubbing Kumasaka's chest, she thinks to herself that she's not giving up on her goal of sleeping with Kumasaka. While having lunch together, Kumasaka let out a yelp of pain, causing Tozawa to ask if he's okay. He explains that it's just nothing really, it's only a splinter. Tozawa questions Kumasaka on his pronunciation. Kumasaka explains that it's just a splinter and he accidentally said it in his Hiroshima accent. Tozawa, shocked, asked if Kumasaka was from Hiroshima, which he confirms. She asks him to speak more in his accent, which he says is embarrassing, but decides to do it. With a sigh, he begins to speak in his accent, complimenting the beauty of Tozawa's hair and how it's so gorgeous that he wants to run his fingers through it. It was a critical hit on Tozawa, exploding with emotions and begging him to just hug her already as she clutched at herself and blushed heavily. Kumasaka, confused, yells out why she wanted that. Tozawa asked Kumasaka if he didn't get tired with his brows constantly being furrowed, with him explaining it's a habit now so he can't stop. Tozawa, taking the opportunity to touch Kumasaka, offered to massage him to help loosen up his brows. Kumasaka blushed in surprise but thanked Tozawa for it. Seeing Kumasaka's expression, Tozawa announced that it might be more difficult to do as Kumasaka looked more like a demon than a relaxed man. Tozawa ended up asking Kumasaka what's wrong with him and why he looked like a playboy from a spicy manga, which stunned Kumasaka. Tozawa sat Kumasaka down, telling him to not be nervous and just relax. He blushed, almost whispering that it's impossible. Giving her softest expression, she told him that she'll try again if that's okay. Now more relaxed and accepting, Kumasaka's expression softened too, causing him to look more like his gentle personality. Tozawa, overwhelmed by his adorable face, speaks out loud saying that she can't show this face to anyone, wanting to treasure it all for herself. Meanwhile, Kumasaka told her that she had a terrible face as he saw her blush and drool and looking a hot mess. Tozawa called Kumasaka's attention and showed him her phone. With affection, she tells him that she liked his dog drawing so much that she made it her phone wallpaper. Blushing slightly, he told her that it made him happy to see that she liked his drawing so much. Then he admitted that it also made him want a drawing from her as his wallpaper. Tozawa confidently said that she's good at drawing and, after a bit of scribbling, declared that it was done. With the moe style, Tozawa announces that she thinks she captured Kumasaka's likeness perfectly, shocking him. Clutching the drawing, Kumasaka questioned if this was him. What he didn't say out loud was that the drawing was way too good. Tozawa, thinking Kumasaka was insulted by it, asked what he meant. She only drew him as she saw him in her eyes. Blushing and heart racing, Kumasaka realized that this is how he looks to her. With sudden excitement, Tozawa asked Kumasaka to draw her too. Inspired, Kumasaka decides that he will draw Tozawa with all his heart and make her as cute as he really sees her. As he was drawing, Tozawa looked on, super excited while waiting for Kumasaka to finish. Then, Kumasaka did this. Ta-da! Tozawa noticed that Kumasaka was looking happily at his phone and asked what he saw that made him so happy. Kumasaka explained that his brother got a new dog and just sent some pictures of it. Showing Tozawa, she sees that it's a cute dog and says so, which Kumasaka agrees with her thought. As Kumasaka swiped to show more dog pics, he dropped his phone. Tozawa, being helpful, told him that she would pick it up. Kumasaka apologized, saying that it was his fault for dropping it. Unknown to them, however, Takiya, Kumasaka's neighbor, was watching them and was stunned from what he saw. From Takiya's point of view, it looked like Kumasaka and Tozawa were doing the nasty right in the college campus lecture hall. Not being able to stand watching anymore, Takiya calls out, asking what the hell the pair are doing in the lecture hall. The pair turn to see what Takiya wants, with Tozawa popping up with Kumasaka's phone in her hand and an innocent look on her face. Takiya confronts Kumasaka, asking why he made Tozawa use her mouth to kiss his hips. Kumasaka yells back that it's a misunderstanding. Tozawa yelled back that something like that shouldn't be done here, it would be torture to stop halfway. It should be done properly at a hotel instead. Kumasaka yells at Tozawa, telling her to stop since she's only going to create a bigger misunderstanding. After a flurry of panicked words, Kumasaka managed to explain to Takiya what had happened and that Tozawa wasn't being lewd in the lecture hall. Tozawa, however, was making a pouty face, disappointed with how everything went. Kumasaka panted with relief, while Tozawa casually mentioned that she would have been fine with this misunderstanding. Kumasaka looked at Tozawa and pondered what she had just said, while she talked about classes and what they should do after them, unaware of Kumasaka's gaze. Resolving himself, Kumasaka called out to Tozawa, who replied, puzzled by Kumasaka's sudden change of tone and attitude. Kumasaka tells Tozawa that making lewd jokes like she did is fine when it's just them, but he doesn't like it when she makes them in front of other guys and he doesn't want her to do it again. He concludes by saying that he doesn't want anyone looking at her in a negative light. Seeing Kumasaka so serious and earnest, Tozawa is completely blown away. Seeing him like this, Tozawa blushed like crazy, noticing that Kumasaka is really concerned for her and cares for her. It overtook her emotions in a rush and she barely stuttered out an apology and that she won't do it again, barely able to control herself. She became lost for words and stood there, her entire face beet red. However, Takiya was still watching them. He couldn't hear them, but he thought that Tozawa had finally been worn down by Kumasaka and was now falling for his roguish charms. This wild speculation ended up becoming a rumor around the campus. Tozawa approached Kumasaka, mentioning it was winter, so isn't he cold only wearing a t-shirt? Kumasaka, looking unfazed, gave a questioning grunt. Tozawa quickly clarified that if he's okay then that's fine, but looking at him makes her feel cold. Kumasaka apologized about that and began to explain why he was only wearing a t-shirt. Kumasaka reminisced about his childhood and commented that he's always had a weird resistance to the cold. Tozawa told him that he stood out like this, so offered him her scarf and gloves. Kumasaka thanked her, thinking that her scarf smelled lovely. Looking annoyed, Kumasaka stood there as it looked like a child had dressed him up. Tozawa mentioned that maybe her gloves were a little too tight, with Kumasaka more concerned about looking like a weirdo. Tozawa then suggested that Kumasaka try carry her against his chest to hide his clothes. Her black panther eyes alluded to her thoughts being lewd, thinking that clinging to Kumasaka all day on campus would make her melt. As she began to boil over with naughty thoughts, Kumasaka declined, saying that she'd make the situation go from weird to freaky. Kumasaka decided to wear a jacket that Tozawa picked out for him to impress her and to fit in more with the crowds of freezing students. He was pleased with himself and excited to see her reaction. Walking to campus, however, was a nightmare. He was cooking from the inside, with his naturally high body temperature betraying him. Tozawa went to greet Kumasaka before noticing he was overheating and drenched in sweat. Noticing Tozawa, he apologized for looking gross and she should probably not touch him. She told him not to worry and be more concerned about overheating and take off his jacket. Powering through it, he said that they're close to campus, so they should just keep pushing. Finally arriving in the lecture hall, Tozawa complimented him on making it while dabbing his sweat with her handkerchief. She tells him to take off his jacket and cool down. Stripping it off, a torrent of steam emerged, revealing a soaked t-shirt that clung to Kumasaka's skin. As he was looking a hot mess, Kumasaka commented that it felt like he was not going to make it. Tozawa stood there, head blank, nose bleeding, emotions flowing freely, and her eyes swirling like a dark temptation that was going to drive her mad. Hanging out together, Kumasaka and Tozawa strolled around the town square, noting all the Christmas decorations and how busy it all is. Tozawa happily remarks on how sparkly and beautiful it all is, as she's filled with the holiday spirit. The pair are noticed by a street photography crew who calls out to them, mistaking them for a couple. They offer a free photo for them for Christmas, to spread the holiday cheer. Kumasaka was taken off guard by the comment, blushing and stuttering, questioning what the photographer just said. As Kumasaka fought for his life to make sure the photographers knew the pair weren't a couple, Tozawa was in Panther mode, scheming. She thought that if they take a photo, they have to stand closer, even touch. And if they touch, Kumasaka might get aroused, and if he got aroused... Seeing that this could be her best chance to get laid, she yells out that they all took the photo together, and her urges overwhelmed her as the lewd thoughts took control. Kumasaka, however, was yet again thrown into a tailspin. The photographers began to position the pair, with Tozawa going all in for the moment, draping herself on Kumasaka. He, however, was being moved around and positioned like a mannequin. Seeing that Kumasaka's head was out of frame, the photographer asked him to bend down, to which he agreed. His head became dangerously close to Tozawa's, as she blissfully smiled towards the camera, while the pair were complimented by the photographer. However, there was another issue. Kumasaka's wide frame poked out of the picture's edge, so the assistant pushed him slightly, asking him to squish himself down. Neither noticed that the assistant was pushing Kumasaka right against Tozawa's chest, who seemed to not hate the experience, but was surprised nonetheless. Realizing what happened, Kumasaka was completely flustered, turning to face her and apologizing for what happened. He was red from ear to ear, while Tozawa just seemed to be confused by the reaction. Unfortunately, the assistant kept pushing Kumasaka to fit into the picture and be even closer, causing Tozawa and himself to smush faces. The result of this was Kumasaka accidentally kissing Tozawa on the cheek. He was horrified by seeming to accidentally be forced upon her, while she blushed with pleasant surprise. As this occurred, the photographer took the one picture they were offered for free. Feeling completely disgusted with himself, Kumasaka prostrated himself in front of Tozawa in a deep apologetic bow. He screamed about how sorry he was, while onlookers gossiped about the scene that was unfolding in front of them. Tozawa tried to defuse the situation, saying that she didn't mind at all that he kissed her on the cheek. The crowd made varied and wild speculations about what was going on, panicking Tozawa. She yelled at Kumasaka, telling him to stop bowing already and stop making such a big scene, or they both would get bad rumors made about them. Looking up at Tozawa, Kumasaka was a sobbing mess, saying that he had permanently stained her, which could easily be misunderstood as something much worse than an accidental kiss, which Tozawa warned him about. Seeing that Kumasaka was completely broken by the incident, she realized that she won't get what she wanted from him in this state and began to mope herself. Trying to make things right, Kumasaka declared that he should do something to atone for what happened, saying to Tozawa that he would do anything she wants to make up for it, piquing Tozawa's interest. Instantly, almost without a thought, she began to blurt out a physical act she wanted, but ended up stopping herself. She realized that this isn't how she wanted this to go. Knowing what she must do, Tozawa requested Kumasaka to turn his face for a moment. Kumasaka didn't know what Tozawa was up to, but complied with the request. Blushing, Tozawa pulled herself up by his collar and gently kissed Kumasaka's cheek. Blushing even more, Tozawa proclaimed that they are now even, so Kumasaka should cheer up. Kumasaka, however, had transcended from this existence from a mere kiss from Tozawa, proving truly how innocent he is. Tozawa admitted to herself that using guilt to bed Kumasaka was unsporting behavior, and she would not be satisfied if she did that. While attempting to look smug, despite blushing from ear to ear, Tozawa thought that she would let her prey escape this time, but next time, she will strike true at her target. Kumasaka, meanwhile, was still living in the land of ever bliss. It didn't end when he boarded the train home, nor did it end while he was showering. Just as he began to calm while reading a Christmas card, he remembered the soft, gentle kiss and how it tickled on his cheek, and it caused all the feelings to re-emerge like a volcano. He got not a wink of sleep, but no one ever did when they live in the land of ever bliss. It was New Year's Eve, and after taking a shower, Kumasaka heard his phone ringing on the bed. Startled, Kumasaka didn't expect it to be Tozawa, and asked her what was wrong. Tozawa, full of glee, apologized for disturbing him, but asked him for some time to talk, if he was able to manage it. Tozawa confessed that she relied on Kumasaka a lot this year, and for that, she wanted to thank him. Kumasaka, taking it in his stride, said it was no issue, but actually, he should be thanking her instead. Tozawa, being all adorable while cuddling her teddy, admitted that this year had been so much fun, and it was all thanks to Kumasaka. Kumasaka, hearing all this from his only true friend in college, was moved to tears as Tozawa gave him a heartfelt thanks. Kumasaka, with his feelings all bubbling up, began to confess something to Tozawa, but was cut off before he could finish. Kumasaka was yelled at by his brother, scolding him for not getting changed quickly after showering, specifically mentioning that he was shirtless. Tozawa, hearing it all, was blown away. Kumasaka ended up yelling back at his brother, embarrassed and telling him not to barge into his room like this. Tozawa, desperate for a crumb of shirtless gossip, shouted into the phone asking about Kumasaka's shirtlessness and wanting to hear every detail. Her brother, however, was weirded out by Tozawa's outburst, questioning what she was even talking about. That night, Tozawa dreamt of a sensual Kumasaka, tempting her to taste him. Within the dream, she was exploding with excitement. In reality, she was drooling in her sleep from the sweetest dream she's ever had. During the New Year's celebrations, Kumasaka spotted Tozawa eating something and thought her food looked good. He admitted out loud that he'd like to get the same thing that she was eating. Twisting his words, she says that if he wants a taste of her, then he can help himself. Kumasaka, blushing and feeling trapped, tried to clarify the situation, but Tozawa, coiling around him like a snake, trapped him within her grasp, leaving him no opening to escape from her tempting advances. Arriving back from winter break, Kumasaka was already tired. As he lazily wandered towards class, Tozawa's voice called out, sounding more timid than usual. Kumasaka spotted her, poking out from behind a corner as she wished him a Happy New Year. He went to return the greeting, but instead interrupted himself to question Tozawa about why she was hiding behind a corner. Barely holding back her tears, Tozawa confesses that she gained a lot more weight than expected over the Christmas break, and it upset her. Kumasaka, being the classic lad, explained that he didn't care about that. Weight gain isn't that much of an issue. With a sweet hopefulness in her voice, Tozawa questions if Kumasaka is telling the truth. Kumasaka said he was, adding that even if she was a bit chubby, she's still a cutie. But what he saw took him off guard. When Tozawa emerged, Kumasaka noticed that she'd gained in all the right places. She now sported tasty curves all over, and it was sexy rather than cute. Kumasaka was frozen from the sight he was blessed with, until Tozawa snapped him out of it, causing him to blush and stutter. Tozawa, seeing Kumasaka becoming a flustered mess, began to tease him. She smiled in a playful manner and said that she didn't know that he was a fan of thick girls. Kumasaka, embarrassed, tried to deny it, but it was clear that he liked what he saw. At a dentist's office, the assistant asked the dentist if it was okay that the next patient had someone with them for support in the room. Being compassionate, the dentist said that even adults can be scared, no matter how big they are. Entering the room, he declared that it was now time to start. Stepping into the room, the dentist thought that Kumasaka was definitely a big adult. Upon seeing him, Tozawa asked the dentist not to be so rough, please. The dentist thought that Tozawa clearly wasn't Kumasaka's sister, so questioned if she was his girlfriend. She said she was his friend, but implied more. The dentist was just confused by why she said it in a weird way, but moved on anyway. Tozawa informed the dentist that Kumasaka is terrified of this place, so he's been avoiding it for as long as possible, which explained why he was in such bad pain. Towering over Kumasaka, the dentist went to take a look. However, Kumasaka only saw an imposing man leaning over him. Terrified, Kumasaka clamped down his jaw and growled at the dentist, scaring him and causing Tozawa to scold him like a bad dog. Finally getting a look at the issue, the dentist said it was bad. Tozawa, surprised, asked if it was really that bad. The dentist bluntly said that a root canal was necessary, scaring Kumasaka to his core. Tozawa, trying to comfort him, tells him to control his breathing, but the dentist informs her that she's actually giving Kumasaka breathing techniques for giving birth. Tozawa, seeing fear in Kumasaka, tried her best to comfort him, squeezing his hand and arm. Shutting his eyes, Kumasaka cursed himself for being so scared, even though Tozawa was there to help him. As he freaked out, he felt something squish against him. Opening his eyes, Kumasaka saw Tozawa latched onto his arm, attempting to stop his shaking and trembling. Feeling her chest pressed against him, Kumasaka stopped shaking as all his blood went to a different location. Noticing that the trembling had stopped, the dentist began his work. As Kumasaka was walking to his college classes, he overheard a conversation that caught his interest. It was that there was a viral story going around about a ghost in an apartment building near campus. They named the apartment complex that the ghost woman was haunting, and Kumasaka realized that it was his building, causing a feeling of dread to overcome him. Tozawa found Kumasaka on the street, frozen in fear and as pale as a ghost. She was worried for his health and asked him what was wrong. Kumasaka explained what he had heard to Tozawa, and remarked that he isn't good with scary things. He added that he's sorry for being so embarrassing. As Tozawa comforted him, Takiya appeared from around the corner and began to eavesdrop. Tozawa began to plan what they can do that will help Kumasaka, saying that she's good with scary things so she could stay the night to soothe his concerns. As they discussed this, Takiya watched on, thinking that perhaps the relationship between them might be on the rocks. Tozawa continues, saying that they might as well make the night fun since they'll be together, and they will laugh the ghost rumor away. What she didn't say was that she was going to use the night to seduce Kumasaka and ensure that they bang, okay? That night at Kumasaka's apartment, Kumasaka was surprised, but not due to a ghost, but what Tozawa was wearing. Tozawa, in a nightgown and wearing a delighted expression on her face, told Kumasaka that ghosts hate sexy things, so she thought this might help. Kumasaka, being the innocent lad that he is, believed it, but also backed into a corner, blushing heavily. Tozawa, slightly disappointed, told him that he didn't have to show that kind of reaction. He responded that he just didn't know where to look, respectfully. Kumasaka had a new dilemma. He can't think about the ghost because he's too horny. Tozawa, realizing that she can't force her way to get what she wants, put on a cardigan, much to Kumasaka's relief. She sat beside the now calmed Kumasaka and commented on the long night ahead of them. Tozawa, teasingly lifting up the cardigan she was wearing, seductively asks what the pair of them should do during this long and lonely night. Kumasaka, seeing Tozawa's curves, went bright red again. Kumasaka, in a trembling voice, questioned about what Tozawa meant. Giggling, Tozawa again seductively said that they can do anything Kumasaka wants, hoping for some more intimate time as his answer. Unknown to both, they were not alone and they were being watched. After spending the night trying to seduce Kumasaka, Tozawa fell asleep, allowing Kumasaka to do the same. Looking back at Tozawa, Kumasaka noted that she was sleeping soundly, but something seemed to be off. As Kumasaka looked closer at Tozawa, he noticed an ominous figure looming over her in a menacing fashion. Frozen in fear, Kumasaka could do nothing apart from think that the ghost rumor was not just a rumor, but an actuality. He saw that Tozawa was fighting the ghost in her dreams, and began to toss and turn, knocking the sheets off her and revealing her sensual lingerie. Kumasaka was flustered upon sight of Tozawa's chest and instantly turned red. The ghost seemed to react to it as well as they reeled back from Tozawa. Kumasaka noticed the fact that the ghost was repelled by Tozawa's chest and was surprised by it. But then he heard Tozawa, while still asleep, calling for help. All his nerves and wants travelled straight to his clenched fist, which led him to one solution to the situation. With the fury of a million scorned kittens, Kumasaka delivered a punch that was devastating to the ghost. As the ghost began to fade, it clicked its phantom tongue and cursed at the pair, acting like a pathetic loner. Realizing that the ghost was finally gone, Kumasaka passed out with Tozawa fast asleep in his arms until the next morning. Tozawa awoke to feeling squished, but then realized that she was being embraced by Kumasaka. Takiya came out of his apartment after hearing a lot of noise from the apartment next door, yawning as they were loud all night. He saw Kumasaka and Tozawa chatting, and not knowing the context of the conversation, Takiya believed that they are discussing something other than cuddling. As Takiya's imagination went wild, he pictured a passionate romance between Tozawa and Kumasaka, and thought that how vicious they could have been with each other in the bedroom. The few seconds after waking up in the morning were the most dangerous seconds in Kumasaka's life. One day, Kumasaka approached Tozawa for a favor. Tozawa, jumping the gun, assumed he wanted a one-night stand and agreed immediately, but Kumasaka corrected her. He needed help with meeting an old friend who can be overwhelming. Tozawa, being the friendly girl that she is, agreed to help him. Waiting by the train station, Kumasaka and Tozawa stood side by side until a voice called out. They called out to Kumasaka by a nickname, to which Kumasaka replied back with the other's nickname. Running towards them was Michi, Kumasaka's childhood friend, who was now an old boy instead of the rough and tumble kid that he remembered. Michi apologized for being late. The pair began to catch up with each other, not noticing that Tozawa was squished between them and struggling to be noticed. After being noticed, Tozawa was introduced to Michi as a college friend that Kumasaka invited to join them. Onlookers observed the trio and misunderstood in the lewdest way what was actually happening in their conversation. Michi bluntly asked Kumasaka if Tozawa was just a friend or actually something more. He denied it, and Tozawa said that they were friends, in English, which Michi questioned. Kumasaka then returned the question, and Michi quickly answered that he wasn't single at all. Michi told the pair that he had a cute but jealous girlfriend that he found adorable. Kumasaka commented that Michi hasn't changed in attitude, but definitely so in appearance. Michi told the pair that they should all go to the cafe rather than stand awkwardly in the street, adding in a teasing fashion that he and Kumasaka can brag about their girlfriends there also, which worked on the duo as they both responded. As they headed off, a girl watched on, seeming to be Michi's girlfriend, who seemed to be upset by the fact that it was not an all-boys gathering like Michi had promised her. As she looked on, she muttered to herself that it was unforgivable. As they enjoyed their time in the cafe, Michi commented that he was relieved to see Kumasaka after so long, and seeing him making friends was also adding to that relief. Kumasaka retorted that he didn't expect the kid known as Turbo Wolf to be a complete city boy now. Michi begged Kumasaka to forget that nickname. Michi replied that Kumasaka was known as the Iron-Fisted Bear when they were kids, trying to share the embarrassment. Tozawa, witness to all of this, asked if they were part of an Elite Four or something similar. Tozawa, not letting the opportunity slip, asked about Kumasaka's past. Michi explained that people got weird ideas about Kumasaka from his appearance alone and spread rumors that he was a woman devourer. Michi concluded that it was all clearly made up, but Tozawa was daydreaming of Kumasaka the Beast rather than the real him beside her. Snapping out of her fantasy, Tozawa exclaimed that he'd rule a kingdom and have a harem if this was ancient times. Kumasaka, stunned by Tozawa's words, asked what she just imagined about him. Michi was glad to see that Tozawa could realize what the real Kumasaka was and not believe the rumors, but she was still a pervert. His thoughts, though, were distracted by his phone buzzing, which revealed to be messages from his girlfriend, which he said out loud. As he looked up from his phone, the duo warned Michi of his impending doom, but as he turned around to look at her, he saw his girlfriend uncontrollably sobbing and calling Michi a cheater. Michi instantly began defending the situation, explaining that Kumasaka and Tozawa are just his friends. But Hina called him a liar, saying that since Tozawa is cute and sexy, he can't be telling the truth. Hina then insulted Kumasaka and claimed that all of them will sleep together. Tozawa, getting frustrated, snapped back at Hina. She declared that she will only sleep with Kumasaka, which Kumasaka questioned why she'd be saying that. After being accused, Hina questioned how all of them are friends when they look like they do. Hina told them that they look like adult star films that are about to start using a casting couch, horrifying Michi and Kumasaka. Tozawa, eyes glistening, loved the idea of the claim and praised Hina while clapping. Kumasaka yelled at her not to be impressed but counter it instead. Trying to de-escalate the situation, Tozawa explained how she's only here as Kumasaka's friend and how they were listening to Michi explain how cute and lovely Hina was. Hina, finally listening, asked if that was what he was doing. Hina, realizing her mistake, apologized just as Michi apologized for not explaining things clearly enough for her. Kumasaka and Tozawa also said that it was okay, but then they let out a frustrated sigh. Michi then began bombarding Hina with love and clarifying that he has a setup prepared to ensure that she knows he loves her. Kumasaka and Tozawa could say nothing but watch on horrified. Sitting down with the others, Michi formally introduced Hina, his girlfriend. She instantly apologized to Kumasaka about her insult, which he accepted awkwardly. As Hina cried, Michi explained her good and bad points, but added that she's overall a sweet girl. He asks that, if it's okay, they could all hang out with her. To this comment, Kumasaka and Tozawa glanced happily at each other that the misunderstanding was resolved in the best way. They gladly and loudly agreed to the offer. On the way home, Hina pulled Tozawa to the side to speak to her privately. Leaning in, she whispers that she supports Tozawa's efforts, implying that she hopes that Kumasaka and her get together. Blushing, Tozawa asks if it was that obvious, but believed that it was her lewd intent that was revealed, not her romantic interest. Hina, continuing her point of view, said that the four of them should hang out, which Tozawa took the very wrong way. Tozawa believed that a four-person interaction, that is of the adult variety, was too advanced for her, while Hina believed that four people casually hanging out being overwhelming for Tozawa was so weird. Kumasaka and Michi chatted to each other about how glad they were that everyone was getting along. Now that they all got along, Hina asked everyone if they wanted to take a picture together in a photo booth. Everyone seemed to be surprised by Hina's playful mood, but happily went along with it. In the booth, the girls were giddy while the boys struggled for space. As the timer counted down, they all struck a pose. What was supposed to be a happy and memorable photo turned out to be more akin to a doujin cover page. Valentine's Day arrived and Tozawa was unsure of how to give her friend chocolate to Kumasaka or when to do it either due to her originally being in an all-girls school. During each period of class, Tozawa contemplated if it was the time to give it to Kumasaka or not, resulting in her awkwardly fidgeting all day. Onlookers in the class assumed that she was involved in some kind of S&M play with Kumasaka and asked themselves if she was really okay. At the end of third period, Tozawa cursed herself for her inaction and yelled out Kumasaka's name. Not able to look at him, she offered up the Valentine's Day chocolate. To Kumasaka though, the chocolates were a sparkling gift from the heavens. Both Tozawa and Kumasaka got awkward over the situation, and both began to fidget and blush, much to the shock of the original onlookers. Finally opening the gift of chocolates, Kumasaka asked to eat them now, which Tozawa gave her blessing for him to do. Kumasaka comments on how fancy the chocolate sounds and takes a bite. Happily, Kumasaka made a satisfied noise as he ate the chocolate, his face gleaming. Tozawa, overwhelmed by the new cute expression that Kumasaka showed, whipped out her phone and began taking pictures of him while squealing, causing Kumasaka to get unnerved. Kumasaka was trapped as Tozawa took millions of pictures of him, calling him cute over and over. That night as he walked home, he mentally complained about the amount of photos that Tozawa took. As he moped his way home, he considered how he, a giant of a man, could be cute. Stopping to look at his reflection, he pondered the thought. He attempted to smile and managed to show a genuine one. However, Tozawa was nearby and saw his smile, causing her to blush and request him to do it again. Not expecting her to be there, Kumasaka jumped with fright. Tozawa, desperate with cute aggression, begged and pleaded with Kumasaka to smile again as it made her heart race, and more. Embarrassed, Kumasaka declined, causing Tozawa to cling to him and beg more, only causing Kumasaka to decline even harder. As they argued, Kumasaka ended up dragging his leg down the street with Tozawa latched on. Somehow, this unexpectedly caused a rumor to be started that Kumasaka loved her and left her. While shopping, Tozawa noticed a top that she loved and decided to buy it. Kumasaka questioned if she should try it first, but Tozawa confidently said that she knows her size, so it's no issue. However, the next day, Tozawa approached Kumasaka with a gloomy expression. Kumasaka questioned why she was so down, to which she only told him to see for himself. Opening her jacket, she revealed her kitty sweater that looked like it suffered a medieval torture rack, startling Kumasaka with its suddenness. Passerby noticed the interaction and misunderstood it as a woman flashing a random man. With a horrified face, they questioned what he saw that installed such terror and fear within him. Walking down the street one day, Kumasaka spots Tozawa walking in another direction, with this time a short haircut. He greets her as he always does, and complimented her hair change. However, Tozawa shows him a disgusted look and called him a creep, and questioned why he's even speaking to her. Just as Kumasaka was about to cry, Tozawa ran towards him and her brother, calling her brother's name, Hayato. Tozawa was surprised to see Kumasaka, and Kumasaka was surprised to see her too. Hayato was there also, asking why his sister knew this brute of a man. Kumasaka became flabbergasted as the siblings looked too alike, while the triangle of a conversation continued. Freaking out, Kumasaka called Hayato a doppelganger, while Tozawa told him to calm down and explained that Hayato was her younger brother. Tozawa introduced her brother to Kumasaka, forcing him to stop glaring and shake his hand. As they shook hands, Kumasaka did his usual strength, not noticing that Hayato was attempting to squeeze his hand hard. Both were lost in thought while shaking hands, with Hayato believing the worst in Kumasaka, while Kumasaka was confused with Hayato's glaring. Kumasaka felt the psychic damage from the glaring, but Hayato snapped him out of it by calling his name. Hayato then began berating Kumasaka, calling him a playboy. Kumasaka tried to defend himself, with Tozawa chiming in also. Hayato then yelled at Tozawa for her lack of concern for her safety, but his harsh words caused Kumasaka to get defensive over Tozawa, only pissing off Hayato more. Hayato claimed that he knew his sister better than Kumasaka, rage consuming him, while Tozawa comments that it's a challenge between men. Kumasaka, also pissed off for once, accepted it, shocking Tozawa. They decide to compete by rattling off knowledge they know about Tozawa, which Tozawa tries to stop due to being embarrassed. Hayato decided to start off first and revealed that Tozawa has slept with the same Teddy since she was a child. Kumasaka, being a big softie, was pleasantly shocked due to the revelation and what he saw in his mind's eye. Clutching his chest, he admitted that he didn't know that and blushed, but Tozawa blushed even more as she yelled at Hayato for revealing that secret. Hayato was confident from where he stood, but Kumasaka was ready to retaliate. He told Hayato that she is a loud drunk, but Hayato believed that he meant in bed rather than in voice alone. Hayato was horrified from what he had heard and misinterpreted, asking if Kumasaka was insane for saying what he said. Tozawa, understanding what Kumasaka was talking about, casually mentions that she does get loud and annoy the neighbors. Hayato, determined not to lose, began to spread out more Tozawa lore, as both competed heavily with each other to see if they knew better than each other. After a long verbal battle, both were exhausted, while Tozawa admitted that she could no longer get married after all the secrets they had spilled about her. Hayato, hoping to finish this fight soon, saw a sauna and decided that they'll end it all there. Both stripped down to towels and prepared to fight to win Tozawa's approval, despite the fight originally starting over who knew Tozawa better than the other. Meanwhile, Tozawa was in the women's section, cursing her brother for seeing all the goods before she could. In the sauna, Hayato realized how built Kumasaka is and how screwed he'd be in a fight. But as he looked, Kumasaka tried to cover up, causing Hayato to ask what's wrong. Kumasaka admitted that Hayato looked too close to his sister and it made him uncomfortable, causing Hayato to verbally lash out at Kumasaka yet again. 10 long, steamy minutes passed, and each second after was agony for the pair, but they kept going. As Hayato was concerned with the rising heat, he peeked a glimpse at Kumasaka to see how he was doing, only to see him melting like an ice cream. Hayato, feeling concerned for Kumasaka, begged him to go if he's suffering in the sauna and not to push himself any further. Putting on a tough guy act, Kumasaka said he had a point to make and he won't give up now, flashing a genuine and kind smile at Hayato. Hayato was impressed by him doing so, while Kumasaka admitted that maybe he was in fact melting. Meanwhile, Tozawa was having a blast on her own, forgetting all about the boys. Tozawa pondered what was taking the boys so long as she drank a cool milk. However, just as she thought this, they arrived. Arriving with no animosity, they apologized as their conversation had gotten away from them, but here they are now. Tozawa questioned if there were still issues, but they confirmed that they're all okay now, causing Tozawa to celebrate the forming of this friendship. Hayato admitted that Kumasaka is a guy that can take care of Tozawa and entrusted her to him. Kumasaka laughed and mentioned that Hayato was making such a big deal out of him and Tozawa being friends. Hayato, confused, almost asked if they are sleeping together, but Tozawa cut him off, saying it was normal nowadays, implying their friendship rather than intimacy. Hayato, his beliefs destroyed in an instant, ran away crying, believing that the pair were lewd when they were actually talking about their friendship. Tozawa said she'd go after him, and Kumasaka agreed, but before she went, Tozawa offered Kumasaka a sports drink to help him rehydrate. As Kumasaka accepted it, a memory of the opening ceremony flashed across his mind, reminding him of the kind person with the bunny handkerchief. With that, Tozawa left, a frazzled Kumasaka. Puzzled, Kumasaka almost remembered the event that started it all, but it eluded him as he continued to question himself the whole way home. Kumasaka invited Tozawa to meet up, but requested her to dress up nice. Tozawa was confused, but agreed to it. As she waited, surrounded by hotels, Kumasaka called out to Tozawa, grabbing her attention. Kumasaka was dressed up in a suit and he had his hair all done up too. Tozawa loved his look, but questioned why. Kumasaka tried to lie, but it was obvious, so he distracted her instead by asking Tozawa to turn around. Covering her eyes with his hands, he told her that he had a surprise for her, and it was in a hotel nearby. Tozawa's mind went wild, imagining all the things it could possibly be, eventually landing on the idea that it must be them doing the deed. Taking his hands away, Kumasaka told Tozawa to open her eyes. While she blushed, she slowly began to open her eyes to see what awaited her. Stunned, Tozawa saw that they were in front of a fancy hotel restaurant. Kumasaka told Tozawa that he booked them tea for White Day here, which Tozawa considered to be so fancy. Tozawa was disappointed by not getting it on, and embarrassed by only giving Kumasaka some chocolates while he planned all this. As she fidgeted, Kumasaka told her to just relax. Kumasaka told her that this was more than just about the chocolates. This was a thank you for always being there for him and being his friend. As Tozawa looked at him, sparkling with joy, he told her that he'll be forever grateful to her. Happily blushing, Tozawa admitted that she should be thanking him, as it's all so much in the best kind of way. Trying to seduce Kumasaka, she pulls out her shirt a bit, asking if he wanted the favor returned in a physical way. The soft Kumasaka found it all so hard to take in, and had a nosebleed and collapsed. Tozawa was alarmed at what happened and ended up acting modestly once again to save Kumasaka from the blood loss. One day, an epiphany struck Tozawa. If she sets up a situation that was exciting for Kumasaka, he'd finally do it with her. Beginning to Google, Tozawa searched for what guys usually like. She came across a teasing succubus image, whose bratty attitude would annoy men into doing the deed. Excited by this new information, Tozawa blushes and watches more content. As she watched more of the spicy videos that she found, she told herself that now she understood it all. The next day, Kumasaka met up with Tozawa, and he instantly noticed that she had changed her hairstyle. Not only had she a change of hairstyle, but also a change of attitude. Attempting to tease him into doing something, she said in a sassy tone that he might look like a playboy, but he's actually a softie around the girls. Ready for the hot and heavy punishment, Tozawa's heart raced and she shut her eyes in preparation. However, Kumasaka just broke down crying, admitting that he's pathetic and he's all bark and no bite. Tozawa felt the guilt of what she said down within her soul, and she apologized with all her heart. What Tozawa had forgotten in her haste to get laid was that Kumasaka had a beautiful yet fragile heart, and she spent the rest of the day trying to cheer him back up. A student spotted Kumasaka and Tozawa talking before entering a private room and making some rather suspicious noises, shocking the accidental observer. As the poor student listened more to Kumasaka and Tozawa's interaction behind closed doors, he was stunned. When the pair left the room, they were panting and worn out, only causing the observing student to develop an interest in voyeurism while questioning what exactly the two did. It was revealed later that what the pair were attempting to do was to massage each other, with Tozawa failing at it while Kumasaka overdid it just a little bit. While hanging out, Tozawa was staring at Kumasaka before commenting that he can be intimidating to people, but not to her. Tozawa mentions a few of Kumasaka's features, adding that because of them, she always found him cool and handsome. Kumasaka was taken aback by the compliment, and had to repeat it out loud to be sure that he heard it right. Absorbing the fact that he was complimented by a girl, a rare event in his life, Kumasaka got a bit smug before deciding to return the compliment to Tozawa, who seemed to be stunned by how Kumasaka was acting. However, before Kumasaka could finish his sentence, Tozawa latched onto his face and began coddling him. Kumasaka's smug expression triggered Tozawa's maternal instinct, and she began to smother him in affection. Tozawa's maternal instinct resulted in superhuman speed, which is how she managed to launch herself at Kumasaka's face within 0.2 of a second. Kumasaka approached Tozawa with his phone in hand, revealing he downloaded a hypnosis app for them to try. Kumasaka thought that they could try and trick their brain into thinking spicy food tasted sweet, and Tozawa was down to try it. Kumasaka told Tozawa to stare closely at the screen, all the while he thought that it's a fun joke app and it helps him feel like good friends with Tozawa. Just then, Kumasaka realized he didn't prepare anything for the hypnosis, and he scrambled to think of something to command Tozawa to do. Kumasaka told Tozawa to act like a puppy, and she jolted in reaction to his words. Kumasaka then tried to joke it off, but then he noticed something. Tozawa was acting like a dog, and Kumasaka noted that she was good at it. As Tozawa pawed at Kumasaka, he questioned if she was really hypnotized and told her that she could stop doing all this now. However, Tozawa bit Kumasaka's finger before licking the finger she bit in a rather lewd way. Kumasaka panicked and did his best to cancel the hypnosis, and luckily, he managed to snap Tozawa out of it. Slightly dazed, Tozawa asked what she did while hypnotized. In a sweaty mess, Kumasaka commented that he was glad that Tozawa came back to her senses, but added that he can't move right now. Tozawa, now horrified, yelled at Kumasaka to explain what she had done to him. Kumasaka explained that the app really worked, and Tozawa was surprised that it was true, but she decided to take advantage of the situation and turned the app on Kumasaka and told him to do whatever he wanted to do to her, romantically. With the veins popping, Kumasaka resisted the bestial urge and fought with all his might. Tozawa was surprised by that, but realized that he might explode if he kept this up, and she cancelled the hypnosis app. While Kumasaka was walking, he was catcalled, making him slightly uncomfortable and irritated. He turned to reject the woman, only to see that it was Tozawa, who was only teasing him. He sighed in relief, but then he had an idea. Performing a gebedon, Kumasaka returned the teasing taunt, asking her out like he was a true playboy. Then Kumasaka admitted that he was only teasing, as payback for what Tozawa did. However, she absolutely loved what he did. With big puppy dog eyes, Tozawa asked Kumasaka to do it again, which he was reluctant to, but since she was his friend, he teased her once again. Draping his arm around Tozawa, he repeated the tease, and Tozawa went wild, causing a nosebleed to erupt and eventually causing her to pass out due to blood loss. After that, Kumasaka refused to tease her like that ever again. Sharing drinks, Tozawa asked if Kumasaka smoked, which he admitted that he'd tried it before but didn't like it. However, if Tozawa wanted to see him smoke, he can try it once again, but only once. Tozawa was happy to hear that he'd try it again just for her. Then Tozawa's kinks took over the conversation as she asked him to blow smoke into her face. Kumasaka was horrified by the mere thought of it and denied it, and questioned where she was even getting the idea from. Tozawa approached Kumasaka and offered him some cherries, mentioning that it's from back home. Kumasaka squealed in delight, admitting that cherries are his favorite. As Kumasaka inhaled the cherries, Tozawa noted that he looked like a bear. As she ate some too, she recalled that tying a cherry stem with your tongue is a sign that you're a good kisser, and she wanted to prove that she was to Kumasaka. Tozawa asked for Kumasaka's attention before revealing that she had tied the stem with her tongue, and she awaited his response. Kumasaka commented that he could do that too, as he revealed that he made a dragonfly with the cherry stem that he had, looking rather satisfied. Tozawa was blown away by Kumasaka's tongue skills, not believing what he did was even possible, and it got her heart racing. Kumasaka, still naive, casually responded to Tozawa's exclamation with an innocent curiosity. One day, while Kumasaka and Tozawa were hanging out, they saw a cat, and Tozawa immediately began to pet it, but Kumasaka stood far away, causing Tozawa to question him. He explained that he uses too much force when petting animals, and he keeps accidentally hurting them. With Tozawa's guidance, Kumasaka reached out to touch the cat, and once the cat had showed some affection, Kumasaka couldn't have been any happier. While with the cat, Tozawa spotted a butterfly, but so did the cat. The cat attempted to swat the butterfly and caught Tozawa's top, pulling it down and revealing a lot to Kumasaka. Out of surprise, Kumasaka leapt away blushing, with Tozawa questioning why he was acting the way he was, not realizing what happened. A businessman was walking home when he overheard a couple commenting on a playboy and a college student they saw. Realizing that the student might be in trouble, the businessman decided that he might have to intervene, but his thoughts were interrupted by hearing someone trying to flirt. However, he was surprised when he saw Tozawa being the one hitting on Kumasaka, who seemed uncomfortable to Tozawa's advances. Luckily, Tozawa's charms worked, and they went to a cat cafe where Kumasaka loved every moment he was there surrounded by affectionate cats. As Kumasaka basked in the presence of the beautiful cats, Tozawa sat on the sidelines, getting jealous of Kumasaka not being physically affectionate with her. As he pulled his face out of the cat's furry chest, Tozawa asked for a favor. Tozawa asked for him to reenact what he just did with the cats, but with her. Kumasaka refused instantly, leaving Tozawa to make an irritated sound as a response. Kumasaka asked Tozawa to hang out next weekend, but she had to turn him down due to having a part-time job to go to. Tozawa explained that she will be working in a maid costume, distributing energy drinks for free to those who are thirsty, and there would be plenty thirsty after seeing Tozawa in a maid outfit. Kumasaka worried about the safety of the job, but Tozawa assured him that it's fine. However, he still didn't trust it, so he decided to be her guardian angel and subtly watch out for her. That weekend, Tozawa was dressed as a bunny maid while giving away energy drink samples to satisfied guys. When she turned to give someone else a sample, she saw Kumasaka in 90s otaku attire and knew it was him instantly. Kumasaka tried to play the part, but Tozawa told him that his concept of an otaku was just too retro. Kumasaka then confessed the truth. He was here for her because he was worried about her. Finding it adorable, Tozawa squealed and blushed before telling Kumasaka that since he's here, she's gonna use him. Tozawa had Kumasaka help her hand out drinks, and the odd sight of the two of them was viral on social media for a short time. Tozawa thanked Kumasaka for his help the other day with the drinks and added that she had fun working with him. Kumasaka shared the sentiment and apologized again for barging in on her work. Tozawa admitted that she thought he came to see her in her maid outfit, before adding that if he liked it, she can serve him in it next time. After being bombarded with flustering comments, Kumasaka told her that he'd think about it, but all Tozawa heard was that it was a maybe and not a no. Tozawa greeted Kumasaka while noticing that he was in a great mood. She asked why, and Kumasaka smiled, looking unnecessarily evil while doing so. Pulling out a Hitachi magic wand, not sponsored, Kumasaka explained that it was a massager that his granny sent him. Please do not think any further about that sentence. Tozawa, recognizing exactly what it was, questioned why he took it out here in the middle of the college lecture hall. Kumasaka, oblivious and innocent, asked if Tozawa knew what it was. Tozawa then had a mental argument with herself about if this was a signal from Kumasaka or not. Deciding to test her theory, she answered that it was a massager, but it had other uses. As she was about to elaborate on that point, she saw Kumasaka's himbo innocent smile and thought better of it. Turning away, she realized that she couldn't go through with it and decided not to tell him. However, another student spotted the massager and realized what it was, spreading another rumor about the pair. Kumasaka ended up asking if Tozawa would use the massager on him, which she couldn't deny since she'd had to admit what the massager really was. Everyone began misunderstanding what they saw and spread even more rumors about the both of them. During the college break, Tozawa received a message from Kumasaka, apologizing that he won't be able to hang out tomorrow since he caught a cold. Within a matter of minutes, Tozawa was kicking down Kumasaka's door, bringing medicine and concern with her. Unfortunately, her suddenness scared Kumasaka almost out of bed. While looking a literal hot mess, Kumasaka asked why Tozawa was here, but she angrily returned the question, asking why he was asking her. Tozawa said that they are friends, so him not relying on her or asking for help is pretty cruel of him. Tozawa and Kumasaka then began to tussle as Kumasaka was trying to sit up and Tozawa was trying to get him to lie down and rest. Getting frustrated with Kumasaka's stubbornness, Tozawa used all her force to push him down and she told him to just sleep. Tozawa then jokingly threatened Kumasaka with a good time, but due to his fever, he was dizzy and not thinking clearly, but made the decision all the same. Kumasaka said that he actually liked Tozawa to be physical with him, which caught Tozawa off guard. As the words sank in, Tozawa asked if Kumasaka was being for real. Tozawa was panicking as she realized that Kumasaka had actually accepted her teasing offer to snuggle and debated on what she should do. However, desire won out over doubt, and she went to make her move. In a flirtatious tone, Tozawa began to say that she'll join Kumasaka if he insists so much, but as soon as her hand touched his, it felt like high-fiving a frying pan. Pulling her hand away, Tozawa compares Kumasaka's body temperature to lava. Thinking to herself, she realized that this must be because he's always running hot, so he must be close to 40 degrees Celsius. Resolving to do her best, Tozawa gets to work readying her remedies for Kumasaka, but stopped when she felt a tug on her skirt and heard a sniffle. Kumasaka, again looking like a literal hot mess, begged Tozawa not to leave him as he was feeling lonely. Tozawa felt a mix of emotions, as she wanted to do more with Kumasaka, but the cold was blocking her. However, she was interrupted as Kumasaka stood up. But unfortunately for Tozawa, Kumasaka began to fall forward. As soon as Kumasaka was about to land on her, he shifted into a bear hug, and once it locked in, Tozawa was turned on. In a quiet voice, Kumasaka thanked Tozawa while she just comforted him. However, she noticed that Kumasaka went limp in her arms. Looking down at him, she noticed that he was sleeping against her bosom like a baby. She then noticed that his forehead was exposed and went in for a kiss, but it burned her lips as his temperature was still sky high. However, despite the scalding temperatures, Tozawa kissed Kumasaka's forehead once again. Unfortunately, Kumasaka woke up from the kisses and began to try and think about what was going on before semi-realizing what was happening, causing his temperature to rise more. Tozawa, trapped in Kumasaka's bear hug, began to cook from Kumasaka's heat and yelled at him that he's overheating to the point of possibly blowing up. After recovering from his cold, Tozawa and Kumasaka met up, with Tozawa asking if Kumasaka was feeling all better now. However, as she looked up, she saw that he was super far away from her, while he waved and thanked her for treating him, with him attributing his recovery to her. However, Tozawa was more concerned about the distance between them. When Tozawa tried to get closer, he kept moving away until Tozawa got fed up and hatched a plan. Tozawa began to fake cry, and Kumasaka's soft heart fell for the ploy, hook, line, and sinker. However, as he got close, Tozawa put him in a headlock, taking out her frustration on him and trapping him for her interrogation. Tozawa asked if she did something wrong while keeping Kumasaka in a headlock. She explained that it makes her sad when he keeps her distance, and Kumasaka began to explain that she didn't do anything wrong. Blushing and acting shy, Kumasaka asked if Tozawa did anything to his forehead when she was caring for him. Hearing the words, Tozawa was momentarily stunned. Tozawa released Kumasaka and began to back away. Once far enough away so he couldn't see her bright red face, she lied and said that nothing happened. But Kumasaka now was only concerned about the distance between them. Arriving at a cafe, Tozawa was glowing with happiness as a parfait sat in front of her. She gushed over how pretty it was before thanking Kumasaka for coming. He told her not to worry, as he also liked sweet things, while Tozawa dug in. Tozawa exclaimed that it was so good before hearing a camera snap and questioning it before seeing Kumasaka with his phone out. In what was supposed to be a teasing expression, Kumasaka wore a demonic smile while showing Tozawa that he got a goofy photo of her. Blushing with embarrassment, Tozawa asked Kumasaka to delete the picture as she claimed that she looked dumb and ugly. Kumasaka, still teasing, questioned if he should delete it. Now begging, Tozawa pleaded that she would do anything to get the picture deleted, causing Kumasaka to tease her more. Observers from another table couldn't look away, believing the situation to be worse than it actually was. Kumasaka continued to be naughty, but decided to give in to Tozawa and deleted the photo, but not before backing the picture up to his cloud. Kumasaka and Tozawa were taking a stroll by the river, with the pair commenting on how relaxing and refreshing it was, especially with the breeze. Unfortunately, a strong gust pulled Tozawa's ribbon from her hair, sending it flying. The pair looked in the grass for ages, with Tozawa apologizing for asking Kumasaka to help her out. Just as he found her ribbon, a loud blink rang out. To Kumasaka's surprise and horror, a baseball struck the ground in front of him before bouncing up and striking him right in the nuts. Tozawa screamed Kumasaka's name as she found him trembling on the ground. She asked him what happened, but all he could say was there was an issue with his groin. As Tozawa helped him, a baseball player showed up complaining about the distance the ball flew, only to stumble across an odd scene. The baseball bros saw Tozawa spreading Kumasaka's legs and using some very questionable choice of words, all while Kumasaka pleaded with her to stop. Tozawa said that there would be a problem if Kumasaka Jr. was broken, and she also wanted to inspect the goods. The baseball bro couldn't say anything except tremble in fear. Baseball bro then ran back to the other players and claimed that a girl was taking advantage of a buff playboy, but what he said was so absurd that they didn't take him seriously. Kumasaka managed to fend off Tozawa and offered her ribbon while also saying that his balls were fine. While he managed to stand bow-legged, he questioned why Tozawa was pouting. One day, while Tozawa and Kumasaka were walking down the road, they heard someone yelling out in pain, only to find a granny on the ground. Tozawa asked what happened, to which the granny explained that she sprained her ankle. Kumasaka offered to take the granny to the hospital, and the granny thanked him and remarked on how big and sturdy his back was. Tozawa, trying to be helpful, picked up the granny's shopping but tripped over her own feet and also sprained her ankle. Kumasaka arrived at the hospital with the granny on his back and Tozawa on his front. As he asked for medical attention for the ladies, the staff could do nothing but stare horrified. The staff asked if Kumasaka Jr. was stuck in Tozawa, but Kumasaka said it was just a sprain, not clarifying that it was the lady's ankles. While this happened, Tozawa was in heaven as she was clinging to Kumasaka's chest and huffing his musk. Tozawa and Kumasaka spotted a mascot, decided to take a picture with it. Tozawa asked Kumasaka to also do heart fingers with her, but he panicked hearing that. As the cameraman asked him to get ready, Kumasaka tried his best to remember how to do it, and in his panic, he misremembered it. The cameraman saw Kumasaka's gesture and was kinda grossed out by it, but took the picture anyway before handing the phone back, allowing Tozawa and Kumasaka to look at it. Kumasaka had put his finger and thumb in the wrong position and accidentally signed something lewd. Tozawa misunderstood what Kumasaka did and thought that he was making lewd proposition to her and blushed in excitement. All the while Kumasaka had no clue as to what was happening. While Kumasaka and Tozawa were walking down the street, Tozawa saw a gorgeous woman and couldn't help but stare at her. However, Kumasaka was just staring at Tozawa, confused as why she was staring at the lady. Kumasaka asked what was wrong, and Tozawa explained that she couldn't help but stop and stare at the lady as she was just so beautiful. Kumasaka casually stated that he guesses that she was pretty, and Tozawa was stunned as his reaction was so underwhelming. Kumasaka confessed that he sees Tozawa daily, so he's gotten used to seeing a beautiful woman all the time. Tozawa accepted the answer, but then realized what Kumasaka had just said, and went bright red as the compliment was just overwhelming. Leaving the cinema and entering the elevator, Tozawa and Kumasaka commented on how the film they were watching was just so good. So good in fact that Tozawa was excited to see the sequel already. However, the elevator began to get crowded as another film theater emptied its audience. Realizing that the crowd would fill the entire elevator, Kumasaka went to cover Tozawa with his body, which she was excited to experience. What she didn't expect was to get a good sniff of Kumasaka, causing her emotions to go wild. Feeling the pressure, Kumasaka looked down to see if Tozawa was okay but was horrified to see her red and huffing his shirt. He told her to look up and breathe, but he didn't realize that she liked huffing his scent. Once the elevator emptied, Kumasaka emerged clutching a melting Tozawa. He told her to hold on, but she told him that she needed a bed to rest, but in reality she wanted some action. Coming around the corner, Kumasaka saw Tozawa and began to call her name, but what he saw stopped him in his tracks. Kumasaka saw Tozawa talking to another buff man like himself and questioned what she was doing with them. Kumasaka talked to himself, surprised that Tozawa had another guy friend like him and how he seemed quite nice. All the while, Tozawa and the guy were chatting and joking with each other. As Kumasaka continued to watch, he got uncomfortable and commented about how close they looked. Disappointed, Kumasaka turned away and relented to come back and try again later. But Tozawa spotted him and called out, questioning why he was skulking off in the corner. Awkwardly, Kumasaka tried to explain away the misunderstanding, saying that he didn't want to interrupt her and her friend. Upon hearing the word friend, Tozawa realized what was going on in Kumasaka's mind. Tozawa explained that she was just asked for directions to the gym and that the guy only asked her since he saw her with Kumasaka before. Once Kumasaka heard that, he was relieved, but was surprised that relief was the first emotion that came to him. As Kumasaka thought about Tozawa, he comforted himself that he shouldn't be jealous, as her being popular is good. As he smiled from the nostalgia, the masses fled in fear as his face was closer to an oni rather than a human. Tozawa yelped out in discomfort, claiming that something was itchy, which caught Kumasaka's attention. Tozawa claimed it was a mosquito bite on her arm, causing the concerned Kumasaka to ask to check it out. As he noted that it was indeed a nasty bite, a memory rushed into his mind that changed everything. Kumasaka was recalling what he was told once, that a girl's upper arm is as supple as a boob. Kumasaka was snapped out of his flashback by Tozawa calling his name. Tozawa asked very boobily if Kumasaka could put some anti-itch ointment on her arm, but he could only notice how bouncy her chest was. Kumasaka, ashamed of his impure thoughts, apologized to Tozawa, but she misunderstood and thought that he found the bite too gross to help. During a lecture, Kumasaka and Tozawa sat side by side, with his arm around Tozawa's chair. She thought to herself that she actually kinda liked it since it felt like he was being manly and claiming her for himself. Tozawa then looked closer at his hands and how huge and veiny they were, before the lust within her began to overtake her. Kumasaka was diligently learning until a poke shockingly caught his attention. Blushing, Kumasaka questioned what Tozawa was doing, while she happily poked at the veins in his hand, her face adorable and playful. As she poked him more and more, sliding up his arm from his hand, Kumasaka got more and more flustered, until Tozawa began to slide her hand in Kumasaka's shirt. Unable to take it anymore, Kumasaka snatched Tozawa's arm, stopping her from teasing him. Whispering, Kumasaka scolded Tozawa, claiming that she's tickling him with what she's doing. She apologized with the pair's faces close, and the air around them tense with passion. However, their seat neighbor misunderstood the situation, thinking it was just like one of Gaijin's dojins. Hanging out as usual, Tozawa noticed that there was a drama being performed and recalled that she once had been on stage. Kumasaka asked if it was in a drama club, but Tozawa admitted that she wasn't in one. Chuckling, Tozawa explained that she had been cast as the prince for the school festival, causing Kumasaka to blurt out that he was surprised that she wasn't the princess. Blushing, Tozawa admitted that she was kinda boyish in high school, thinking that it was because she wore no makeup, had short hair, and was kinda tall compared to the other girls. However, Kumasaka imagined her as a muscular man with long hair and in a girl's uniform. Seeing his expression, Tozawa questioned what he was thinking of and if it was something weird yet again. Kumasaka, being the innocent best boy he is, admitted that he wished he saw Prince Tozawa in action, causing Tozawa to admit that it would be embarrassing. Tozawa admitted that she recalled some of her lines and moved towards Kumasaka, before embracing him and beginning to recite the lines. Putting on the charm, Tozawa continued to recite her lines, saying that she would love him eternally, before kissing his hand gently. Pulling away, Tozawa began to flail and claimed that she was only joking around and now she felt really embarrassed. However, Kumasaka didn't move at first, but once Tozawa called out to him, he dropped like a rock. Later on, while heading home, everyone couldn't keep their eyes off Kumasaka, as he was glowing from the experience he just had, and he felt like he was on top of the world, like a pretty princess. One day, a mosquito bit Kumasaka on the neck and somehow survived it. He didn't notice at first, but when he did, he thought that the bite was in such an odd spot. However, when Tozawa approached and saw the bite, she was horrified by what she saw, and it clearly showed. Crying loudly, Tozawa confronted Kumasaka, accusing him of having another woman, as the mosquito bite seemed to be a hickey to her. As Tozawa claimed that it should have been her and not another, she clung onto him while her legs gave out, causing her to be dragged around while all women judged them. Realizing what was going on, Kumasaka clarified the situation, that it was a mosquito that bit him, not a woman. With makeup a mess and also looking a mess, Tozawa smiled weakly and apologized for jumping to conclusions. Kumasaka was both devastated and traumatized by the situation, and from then on, Kumasaka reported every bug bite he got to ensure the same misunderstanding didn't happen again. For some reason, most likely fan service, both Kumasaka and Tozawa got into bunny girl outfits, with him being embarrassed while Tozawa just ogled him all over. Then Tozawa asked the real question. Was he tucking in Kumasaka Jr.? And how was it fitting in that skimpy outfit? Questions we both don't need to know and still do need to know. Kumasaka refused to tell, causing Tozawa to cry and beg to know, but Kumasaka only yelled at her that she shouldn't be crying over not getting this answer. Out for a meal that night, Kumasaka went to a restaurant together with Tozawa and tried to figure out what to eat. Tozawa spotted something and called it out as a choice, which seemed to be a super spicy bowl of ramen. Kumasaka commented on Tozawa's bravery of choice of food, to which she told him that she can handle it, but she had another motive behind her choice. Tozawa's freak began to show, as she imagined using the excuse of spicy food to go to a cool hotel and then have some spicy action. While she imagined throwing it back in her circle, Kumasaka innocently ordered the food. Tozawa was snapped out of her daydream by Kumasaka, who let her know that the food was here. Tozawa turned to face Kumasaka and saw he was eating with no issue, which surprised her. Seeing that he was okay, she thought that it wasn't that spicy and began to eat also. Once the heat hit her, she began to squeal and beg, claiming that the food was too spicy and causing her to go red in the face. Kumasaka, seeing the literal hot mess that Tozawa had become, began to blush and spilt water on himself. Performing an unusual walk of shame, Kumasaka was soaked and blushing, hiding Kumasaka Jr., and Tozawa was tear-stained and wore puffy, irritated lips. Going through reels, Kumasaka commented on the addictive nature of them, and Tozawa commented that they can be a real time vampire. He watched video after video, and once he saw Bichon freeze, he began to show it to Tozawa since he found the dog adorable. But when Kumasaka turned the phone, the video switched to a big-chested woman rather than a dog. Tozawa was frozen at first from what she saw, but she decided that it was time to do this and began to strip, horrifying Kumasaka. Dressed up in God knows what, Tozawa told Kumasaka that the dog he wants is here. The female dog he wanted so bad is right here in front of him. Kumasaka was a flustered mess, while Tozawa confidently demanded commands from him, shameless in the face of a melting Kumasaka. Kumasaka commented that something was weird as he dropped his mechanical pencil, yet he couldn't find it. As he bent down to look for it, Tozawa's eyes went wide at the sight of Kumasaka's ass. Tozawa told him to look harder, while she stared harder at his ass, and the innocent Kumasaka agreed and continued to look for his mechanical pencil. As Tozawa enjoyed some snacks, Kumasaka asked if they were new and what they tasted like. Tozawa offered one, and as Kumasaka agreed, she went to feed him the treat with a lovey-dovey attitude. As Tozawa warned him about the cream filling exploding out, yes, I just said that, Kumasaka got too worried about being fed and bit down too early. The sweet treat burst in Kumasaka's mouth, and the cream went all out rather than in, and launched towards Tozawa. Though she had warned him, a creamy surprise hit Tozawa's face, causing a sus moan to slip from her mouth. Unfortunately for Tozawa, the hot cream burnt rather than soothed, and caused her to clutch her face while Kumasaka apologized over and over. With the worst timing, two other students entered the room to see Tozawa still clutching her face, while Kumasaka used the worst phrasing ever, saying that he was sorry for busting it right on her face. While traveling on the subway, everyone looked at Kumasaka and saw a possessive and protective boyfriend, claiming Tozawa as his woman. However, Kumasaka's face was more of trauma, as he was trying to resist his urges and distracting himself from Tozawa purposefully pressing her chest against him by thinking of meals he's previously eaten. Finishing classes, the pair prepared to leave, with Tozawa already up and stretching. Kumasaka called out to her to mention something, but Tozawa turned too quickly and smacked Kumasaka in the face with her twins. Tozawa apologized over and over, and Kumasaka fumbled over and over, thanking her rather than saying that everything was okay. On another day, Tozawa spotted Kumasaka and decided to surprise him. What she didn't realize was that he was daydreaming, and she was at weapon level height. Turning to see where Tozawa was, Kumasaka's twins swung straight into Tozawa's face, and with them being rock hard, Tozawa was blown away, blood splattering everywhere. Tozawa changed her outfit now that autumn had arrived, and it was a tasteful choice of outfit. Kumasaka thought the same as he was overwhelmed by the miniskirt she was wearing. Tozawa innocently asked if it looked good, and Kumasaka blushed heavily and admitted that it did suit her. Having a refined palate, Kumasaka noticed how Tozawa's short skirt complemented her plump thighs, and it was a huge change compared to her usual long skirt. But trying not to be rude, he slapped himself for looking at those plump thighs, and continued to do so every time he looked at her. In the end, Kumasaka looked pummeled, and when Tozawa finally noticed, she was horrified. She questioned what happened, while onlookers gawked and speculated. With a smug expression, Tozawa revealed 2 costumes and asked a very important question. Which one does Kumasaka think is better? Filled with a mix of emotions, he couldn't fathom her wearing them, as they were basically a few strings and not much more. Hesitant to speak, he reluctantly chose the cowgirl outfit for Tozawa, and she happily thanked him for choosing. But then the surprise was revealed. Kumasaka would have to wear the stringy succubus costume. The pair ended up wearing costumes that covered more, and Kumasaka decided to spook Tozawa by scarily shouting at her, "Trick or treat!" Tozawa was so scared that she tied herself up out of fear and questioned out loud, since she was so scared, what she should do. As a result, she was tied up and helpless, and confidently said, "Trick," but Kumasaka was a bit confused and hesitated. Tozawa, not letting the moment slip away, shouted with determination at Kumasaka that the trick should be lewd, and now. Tozawa complained about the cold, and Kumasaka, with his natural mean look, asked if she wanted to go somewhere to warm up. Unfortunately for Kumasaka, Tozawa took advantage of the offer and tried to drag him into a love hotel, with him stubbornly refusing her pull, pleading to go anywhere else. Tozawa met up with Kumasaka once again, but she had a new outfit to show him. Her cheeks were red the entire time, and Kumasaka was impressed that she wore something so revealing, but had something else to add. He noticed her face was red and touched it. Tozawa loved it, but Kumasaka noticed it was a fever since she was burning up. He put her to bed and took care of her, warning her to be careful with the temperature during the shifting of the seasons, while Tozawa claimed to be okay, but she was looking like a cute little mess. Kumasaka approached Tozawa and asked her a riddle. He mentioned that it's something kids can't do but adults can, and if someone begs him, he'll put it in, sometimes. Tozawa's mind went to the gutter like yours, and thought that it was banging, and was about to say it, believing that Kumasaka was subtly hinting that they should do it. As she said what her dirty mind believed it was, Kumasaka innocently said the answer was an election, rather than what Tozawa wanted to hear, which was an erection. Kumasaka was out at a cafe again, with Tozawa happily sipping on her coffee, while he was finding her appearance adorable. What wasn't noticed was everyone judging him for wearing a t-shirt in the winter weather. Tozawa commented that the coffee was delicious, and when Kumasaka asked if it really was, she offered him some. As he happily went to drink, he noticed Tozawa's lipstick on the lid of the coffee. His lips moved closer and closer, but he began to blush red and shake from nervousness, as this would be an indirect kiss. Meanwhile, Tozawa could only look on, confused. At lunchtime, Tozawa commented about never getting a manicure before, leading Kumasaka to comment with a full mouth that she should try and get one then. Tozawa, hearing what she wanted to hear as usual, asked if he said that he wanted a bang, causing the pair to blush and Kumasaka to panic mumble with food in his mouth. With it being Christmas, Tozawa suggested wearing a couple sweater together with Kumasaka, and being an innocent fool, Kumasaka agreed. Once it was on, Tozawa didn't pull it all the way down, leaving Kumasaka to make a soft discovery, and the reason she didn't pull the sweater the whole way down. It turned out that under the sweater, Tozawa was wearing nothing at all. In the study room, Kumasaka was intensely making notes, so much so that his pen was launched out of his hand. As this is a manga, the pen, of course, landed perfectly between Tozawa's bosoms. Kumasaka had gone red with embarrassment, and he apologized for what happened. Tozawa seemed surprised too, but didn't seem to be upset. Taking her chances, Tozawa turned to Kumasaka to offer his pen back, but she didn't take the pen out. Instead, she took out her sweater puppies, and Kumasaka was shocked red. On another day to meet up, Tozawa saw that Kumasaka was there early and decided to try and get him hot and bothered by sitting on his lap. Surprising him, Tozawa plopped herself into his lap and began to wiggle around, commenting on his thighs while not realizing that she was waking the dragon. As if his lap had become an ejector seat, Tozawa was launched into the air, and little Kumasaka was up and raring to go from the teasing from Tozawa's thick arse. Concerned, Tozawa approached Kumasaka and asked what happened to their special pudding that they bought together, and Kumasaka apologetically told her that he ate it since it was almost out of date. Tozawa was horrified and told him that she planned to eat it with him since it was special and they waited an hour to get it. She began to cry and latched onto Kumasaka. While Tozawa was crying into his chest, Kumasaka apologized for his mistake and promised to bring her somewhere to eat something sweet together, which she agreed to. As she pulled away, Kumasaka saw a panda on her shirt, which he quickly realized was Tozawa's crying face. On the way to college, Kumasaka commented that Tozawa was wearing more layers than usual, while Kumasaka was also fine as usual. However, Tozawa actually had an issue. She told Kumasaka that her heating broke, and he felt bad for her, even offering his electric blanket to use. But she told him that it was too much of a hassle. However, she did have another idea. And that idea was for the pair of them to get in bed together and rub each other until they were both nice and warm. But Kumasaka awkwardly told her that her idea was more of a hassle than his. Tozawa surprised Kumasaka with a gift, homemade ehomaki. He happily went to eat it, not knowing that Tozawa had a secret plan for him. It turned out that she planned to use this time while he was eating to keep his attention on her and his mouth shut so she can quickly ask, no, plead and beg for a nightly embrace. She believed that this plan was foolproof, but little did she know that fools are ingenious. It was revealed that Kumasaka already inhaled the ehomaki and thanked her for the food, adding that he could only do so because it was so delicious. Tozawa had misjudged the speed at which Kumasaka ate and was thus defeated. However, as she sobbed and wailed, she claimed that she would make the next ehomaki at least a meter long. In the street, a man began to approach Tozawa and harassed her. He told her to hang with him, but also asked to touch her amazing and bouncy chest. As he began to drool over the plumpness of her chest, a shadow behind him called out. Leaning over, it was revealed to be Kumasaka, offering to let the guy fondle his pecs, intimidating the guy. What was unexpected was Tozawa's reaction, as she leapt at the chance, shouting that she would happily squeeze him. Where, though, was the real question. While on the street, Kumasaka and Tozawa were approached by a young man who seemed eager to talk to Kumasaka. He explained that he was a wrestler and wanted to talk to him about physique. Kumasaka wasn't particularly interested in chatting, but Tozawa convinced him to hear out the wrestler. The wrestler wasted no time and asked to see Kumasaka's abs, which he agreed to show. However, Tozawa shut it down, looking absolutely livid. Kumasaka asked why she changed her mind and she was the one who encouraged it, but she gave him one clear answer to everything. A solid no. While Kumasaka was gaming, Tozawa approached him and asked about what they should do today. However, Kumasaka seemed too distracted and didn't try to answer. Trying to get his attention, she suggested banging, and without listening, Kumasaka agreed to her request. Seizing this opportunity with both hands and legs, Tozawa leapt towards Kumasaka, sealing his fate. Maybe. Hey all, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I think this will be my last video for Usagi to Kuma to Usagi, or is it Usagi to Kuma? Um, anyway, so that's the last time I'm going to be covering this story. Everything here in this video has been the pre-serialization, as well as some of the kind of independent Twitter kind of snippets. So I grabbed a few of them because I'd been seeing them and I was kind of thinking of continuing it, but I think it's time for this video. I'm gonna finish up with it. There is the serialized version. There's like 3 volumes already made, so there's like 12 like full chapters already translated, each with like about 20 or plus pages. So they're all quite nice. And they do follow a different storyline, as I did read some of it myself and realized it has similar themes and there's a few things reused, but it's very little. It's actually kind of like changed quite a lot, and it's quite nice. But yeah, it's interesting to now finally stop this story, as I started this story around the time my channel started. I found this story when it was still new. I think there was only 11 posts on Twitter about this, which I was quick to grab and turn into a video. I think it was only, actually no, there was 8, and then I ended up bumping it to 11 because as I was making the video, more posts were coming out as the author was just starting to get recognized. It was a really kind of a nice moment, and I've chatted to Akira a few times, and she's lovely actually. She's a very sweet woman, and yeah, I would really recommend supporting her and the work she's done and is still doing. And yeah, I feel like I have plenty to say, but maybe I've rambled a bit too much. Thank you very much to my members. As always, you're wonderful. Thank you very much for supporting me. And for those of you that have been following along, watching other videos, liking, commenting, subscribing, thank you very much as well, as all of it does add up and it means a lot to me. So I really appreciate that. And yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I'll catch you all again another time.